8086 microprocessor. So in short, we can say that 8086 microprocessor, it has totally four groups of registers. 8086 microprocessor has four groups of register. First one is the general purpose register, and next is segment register. Third is indexed and pointer registers, and fourth one is the flag register. I'm repeating once again. 8086 has four groups of registers. One is general purpose registers, next is segment registers, and next indexed and pointer registers. Next one will be the indexed and pointer registers, and the last one is flag register. And before we move on to these four groups, I would like to say one thing is that all the registers, whatever the sub registers they have, all the registers are of 16-bit size. 8086 registers, let it be any kind of register, all of them will support the 16-bit of data. All the registers of 8086, they support 16-bit of data. And now we'll be moving into the general purpose registers. So see here, ma. These are the general purpose registers: AX, BX, CX and DX. These four registers are called as general purpose registers. So what are general purpose registers? So out of all the four groups that 8086 has, general purpose registers are the registers which are available for the end user. General purpose available for the end user. Four registers which the end user or the program family language for 8086 microprocessor. Guys, is there any problem? 220.
Ma'am, మీ వాయిస్ కట్ అవుతుంది. మ్యామ్
My voice is not clear to you, ma.
ఎస్ మ్యామ్.
Ma, can 220? Can anyone say? Can you people listen to me?
ఎస్ మ్యామ్, మీ వాయిస్ క్లియర్గా లేదు మ్యామ్.
It is the same case for all.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now,
Yes, ma'am.
whatever I'm asking, even these questions are also not clear to you.
Now it is clear, ma'am.
Okay, ma. I'll brief the registers once again. 8086 is having four groups of registers, and those groups again are having sub registers. So the major four types of registers that the 8086 is having are general purpose registers, segment registers, indexed and pointer registers, and the last one is flag register. Guys, are you clear with these four names?
Yes, ma'am.
And now we'll be looking into the general purpose registers. So there are four types of general purpose registers in 8086 microprocessor, and those four are named as AX, BX, CX and DX. And before we move into the discussion of general purpose, let me give you one clarity that all the registers which 8086 contains, all the registers, they are of 16-bit registers. All the registers of 8086 are of 16-bit registers. That means they support 16 bits of data at a time. All the registers of 8086, they do support 16 bits of data at a time. And now we'll be moving on to general purpose registers. So these general purpose registers are freely available for the end user or the program. Freely available means it doesn't mean that the remaining registers they take some amount from the end user to. That is not the meaning of freely available. The freely available word here, it says end user, that is nothing but we. who is dealing with that 8086 microprocessor and who wants to write some programs in assembly language for the 8086 microprocessor, we can make use of these 4 registers at any time while we are writing the program. And these general purpose registers are completely utilized based on the program in order to write the program, whereas the remaining registers, we can't use the remaining registers as we wish. They have some their significant usage only when we have the requirement of that particular application. Then in that scenario only we can make use of the remaining registers. But coming to the general purpose registers, it is there is no specific requirement that only for this particular purpose this register needs to be used. Those kind of situations will not occur for the general purpose registers. Those kind of situations like only for this operation this register, this operation this register, that significance will be there for the remaining registers. So the general purpose registers, however we want to make use of them, we can make use of the general purpose registers. And now that is the major advantage with the general purpose register. They are user friendly. However the user wants to use, according to his application, he can make use of the general purpose registers. And now if you look into each and every register of these general purpose registers like AX or BX or CX or DX, these registers have been subdivided with a notation of H and L. All the 4 general purpose registers, they have been subdivided with a notation of H and L. You can observe that for all the 4 registers, AHAL, BHBL, CHCL, DH and DL. What exactly they mean? L stands for lower byte, H stands for higher byte. L stands for lower byte and H stands for higher byte. What exactly this means? As I told you, all the registers of 8086, they support 16-bit of data. So here in your program, if you are working with only 8-bit of data, if you are working only with 8-bit of data, here the beauty that general purpose registers as giving is that AX, BX, CX, if you can find the suffix X, that indicates that you are working with 16-bit of data. If you are finding a suffix of X, that indicates that you are making use of 16-bit of data or you are working with 16-bit of data. Assume that there is only 8-bit of data. Even though general purpose registers support 16-bit of data, but as if you are using only 8-bit of data, then there is a provision that you can make use of either AH or AL instead of using AX.
Voice is not clear, ma'am. Hello.
Because
Uh,
the space is correct. So why should we take? Ma, can you listen to me?
no, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Just give me a second, ma. Guys, can you listen to me now?
Yes, ma'am.
You're fine. See here, ma. Here, whenever you want to make use of 8-bit of data, even though the space is readily available for 16, so why should we waste the space? We will be filling up the 16-bit of register with only 8-bit and the remaining 8-bit space will be wasted, right? So in order to utilize only the 8 bits of space, the general purpose registers, they have been segregated like lower 8 bits and higher 8 bits, lower 8 bits and higher 8 bits. So here whenever you are working with 8-bit of data, you can make use of either L, AL, BL, CL, DL, or you can make use of AH, BH, CHR, DH whenever you are working with 8-bit. Whenever you are working with 16-bit, you need to make use of the suffix XXX. And here you may get a doubt what are lower bytes and what are higher bit of data. Seema, consider D0 to D16. D0 to D16. Sorry, D15, D0, D1, D2, D3, D4. D0 to D15 means that is a 16-bit of data. So from in that D0 to D15, D0, D1, D2, D3, D4, D5, D6, D7. That means D0 to D7 will be considered as lower byte of data, and D8 to D15 will be considered as higher byte of data. Guys, are you clear with this lower byte and higher bytes? How to identify
Yes,
lower
ma'am.
byte and higher byte? Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So to make use for the proper utilization of the allotted memory, and if you are working with 8-bit instead of using 16-bit register, you can make use of the same register for 8-bit also by making use of either L suffix or H suffix. So that is about the general brief of general purpose registers. And now we'll look into each and every register of the general purpose. AX. AX is nothing but it stands for accumulator. AX stands for accumulator. So what is the functioning of the accumulator? See here, ma'am. Whenever we are performing some operation, say for example, we are add AL comma BL or add BL comma CL. There is an instruction that add BL comma CL. So here, after performing the addition operation, there is a confusion that where that result can be stored. So in that particular a move BL comma CL, you can come to one conclusion that result will be stored in BL. Along with the storage in BL, the copy of the result will be stored in accumulator also. Let you perform any kind of operation. Copy of your result will be stored in accumulator by defaultly. That is the feature that 8086 is providing for the accumulator. Result of any operation will by defaultly store in accumulator. Even though you are specifying one register to store your result, in that specified register the result will be stored, but along with that specified register, copy of your result will be by defaultly stored in accumulator, and its representation is AX. Guys, are you clear with AX?
Yes, ma'am.
And next, BX. BX is nothing but base register. BX is nothing but base register. So here the base register will store the offset address of segment register. BS register, that is nothing but base register. It will store the offset address. In previous class, I have clearly explained you what is offset address and what is segment address and what is physical address. Can you remember that? Guys, can you remember what is offset address is? Guys, are you there?
Ma'am, starting address.
Starting address will be the segment address.
Then any specific address in the register.
Specific address within the segment.
Yes.
Address within the segment, that we call it as this offset address. We have discussed one general example na 4th row 10th book. That 4th will be the starting address of that row and 10 will be the specific address. So 4 will be the segment address and 10 one will be the offset address. Can you recollect this, ma? Guys, can you recollect the library example which I have discussed while I'm explaining the architecture?
Yes, ma'am.
So here you just simply remember that BX, that is nothing but base register, will store the offset address for one segment. Base register will store the offset address for one segment. For which segment it will store offset address, that I will explain while I am explaining the indexed and pointer registers. As of now, you just remember BX will store the offset address. And next register is CX. CX is nothing but counter register. CX is counter register. So this counter register is used whenever we are making use of, or whenever we are working with string related operations. When we are working with string related operations, string in the sense a group of characters, we call it as a string. So there is string related operations in order to count the length of this string. In order to count the length of this string, by defaultly this CX register will be used. And another usage of this counter register is that counter register is also used in logical operations. It is used in string related operations. It is also used in logical operations. In logical operations, if we want to perform shift operation or the rotate operation, shift left, shift right, or rotate left, or rotate right, while we are performing these kind of operations with the binary data, in that scenario also counter register will be used. So here you can remember that counter register is used while programmer is working with string related operations or logical operations. Guys, am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Please make prepare your running notes, or else you can't remember for this long time. Maintain the running notes. And the last register, that is nothing but the DX. DX is nothing but the data register. DX is nothing but a data register, which will simply store the data. Data is nothing but the input and the output that we are trying to give and that we are trying to get. Input and output data that will be stored in data register. And I'll brief once again all the four. AX, accumulator, which will store the a copy of result by defaultly. BX, base register, which will store the offset address of one particular segment in the memory location. CX, counter register, which will be used when programmer is working with string and logical operations. DX, data register, which will be used for the storage of input and output data. Guys, are you clear with general purpose registers?
Yes, ma'am.
And next, I'll be moving on to the segment registers. Segment registers. Regarding the segment registers in architecture itself, I have discussed much better. Okay, so segment registers, there are four segment registers. There are four segment registers. First one is the code segment register. First one is the code segment register. Next, stack segment register, data segment register, extra segment register, code segment register, stack segment register, data segment register, extra segment registers. Short forms are CS, SS, DS, and ES. Okay, and now what these segment registers will store? Before I move into what these segment registers will store, here I just want to introduce one concept called segmentation. Segmentation is nothing but, as I told you, a microprocessor, it does not have its internal memory. So external memory has to be connected to the microprocessor. So 8086 can access an external memory of up to 1 MB size. It can access an external memory of up to 1 megabyte size. So this 1 MB memory of this 8086, it has been divided into 16 segments. Just you try to realize that 1 MB of memory is equal to our library. Okay, total 1 MB is our total library. Now, this 1 MB of memory, it is divided into 16 segments. Our library, it is having nearly about 6 to 7 rows. 1 MB is divided into 16 segments and library is divided into 6 to 7 rows. Out of these 16 segments, end user, that is nothing but the programmer, will be making use of only 4 segments. Out of 16 segments, end user will be making use of only 4 segments. And what are those 4 segments are? Code segment, stack segment, data segment, and extra segment. So out of 6 or 7 rows in the library, as you people belongs to triple E, you will be making use of only triple E row. Guys, yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you trying to analyze this 1 MB with library? Are you following that real-time example?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
1 MB is divided into 16 segments, but out of 16 segments, we'll be making use of only 4 segments. even though library is containing 6 to 7 rows, you will be making use of only one row because only that particular row will have the books related to you. In a similar way, only those 4 segments will be having the information related to the end user. So now the 4 segments are code segment, stack segment, data segment, extra segment. Here you just please make a note that segment and segment register both are different. Code segment is one thing, code segment register is another thing. Now I'm talking only about the segments. See here, code segment, out of 16 segment, code segment is one thing. And what does this code segment will contain? Code segment contains the programs. Code segment contains the programs. Row 1 will contain the books related to civil department. In that similar way, code segment will contain the programs. Next, stack segment. Stack segment contains the stack data. What is stack data? Means stack data is nothing but when processor is performing one program execution, there will be some intermediate result, and that result can be important for the processor after some time. So that intermediate data, in important intermediate data, that data we call it as a stack data. That means that may not be useful for the end user, but whereas it can be used for the processor, but not all the time. Whenever the processor require and whenever processor wants to look into that, then there should be a space for that storage. So that space is nothing but the stack. Stack data is nothing but a temporary stored data which will be retrieved or which will be viewed by the processor whenever it requires. Did you understand what is stack data, ma?
Yes, ma'am.
Stack data will be a temporarily stored data where that is not going to be used by us, where that will be used by the processor whenever it requires. So that kind of data will be stored in stack segment. And coming to the data segment, so input and output data, whatever we will be dealing with the processor, while we are dealing with the processor, whatever the inputs that we are giving and whatever the output that processor gives, these kind of things will be stored in data segment. These kind of things will be stored in data segment. Extra segment. See here, ma. I forgot to tell you one thing, that here all the segments are of 64 kilobytes. 1 MB is being divided into 16 segments, where each segment memory capacity is 64 kilobytes. Each segment capacity is 64 kilobytes. Here 64 into 16, if you multiply that, you will get the result as 1 MB, right? So here each segment is of 64 kilobytes. So consider the data segment, that is nothing but that segment which we most widely use, giving the inputs and taking the outputs from the processor. So more than 64 kilobytes of data, if you have data segment, it is capable of storing the data of 64 kilobytes. But if you have data more than 64 kilobyte, that means you're having the extra data, then that extra data will be stored in extra segment. Guys, are you clear with this?
Yes,
ma'am.
Code segment will store the programs. Stack segment will contain the stack data which will be used by processor. Data segment contains the input and output data which programmer will deals with. Extra segment will contain the extra data which is more than 64 kilobytes. Clear with this? So this is the data that each stack is containing, like row 1 civil books, row 2 EEE books, row 3 mechanical books, row 4 ECE books, row 5 CSE books. In that way, code segment programs will be stored, stack segment stack data will be stored, data segment input output data will be stored, extra segment if the user wants to provide more than 64 kilobytes of data, then that extra data can be stored in extra segment. Are you clear with the segments?
Yes, ma'am.
And
yes,
now I'm talking about segment registers. Code segment register. What code segment register will store? Code segment register will store the starting address of code segment. Code segment register will store starting address of code segment. Are you getting the statement?
yes, ma'am.
code segment register will store starting address of the code segment. And what does the code segment contains?
Code
Programs.
data.
Programs. Very good. There is a space for programs and the starting address of that space is being stored by the code segment register. And in a similar way, stack segment register will store the starting address of stack segment. Now, did you get what is the difference between code segment and code segment register?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
In a similar way, you need to get the difference between SS and SS register, DS and DS register, ES and ES register. Clear, ma?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is what all about the segment registers. And now next we'll be moving on to the indexed and pointer registers. Next we'll move on to the indexed and pointer registers. See here, ma, here under the flag IP is written, but this IP will also come here. Indexed and pointer registers, totally there will be 5 indexed and pointer registers. Out of 5, 3 will be the indexed registers and 2 will be the pointer registers. So here blindly you can remember in such a way that indexed and pointer registers will store offset address. Indexed and pointer registers will store the offset addresses of code segments. Indexed and pointer registers will store offset addresses of segments. They will store the offset addresses of segments. And now here BP, that is nothing but base pointer, SP means stack pointer, SI means source index, DI means destination index, and IP means instruction pointer. I'm repeating once again: base pointer, stack pointer, source index, destination index, and instruction pointer. The functioning of all these 5 is that they will store the offset address for the segments. They'll store the offset address for the segments. And now, which offset address of which segment register will be stored, that I'll explain now. See here, ma. BP and SP, that is nothing but base pointer and stack pointer. They will store the offset address of stack segment. Just make a note of this thing roughly. BP and SP, they will store offset address of stack segment. And source index, that is nothing but SI. SI will store the offset address of DS. Source SI store the offset address of DS. Now, DI will store the offset address of ES. DI will store the offset address of ES. And now IP, that is nothing but instruction pointer, that will store the offset address of CS. IP will store the offset address of CS. Offset is nothing but specific address. Offset is nothing but specific address. Whereas the segment registers will store the starting address of the segments, and indexed and pointer registers, they will store the offset addresses for the segments. I'm repeating, SP and BP will store offset address of stack segment. SI will store the offset address of data segment. DI will store the offset address of extra segment, and IP, instruction pointer, will store the offset address of CS. Guys, are you clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And now the last register, and very, very important register, that is nothing but the flag register. And these are all what we have discussed, ma. Pointer and index register. And finally, now we are into the flag register. So what exactly a flag register? I have discussed in last class also. Flag register is nothing but it is also a 16-bit again. Let it be any kind of register that if it is related to 8086 microprocessor, you have to get into your mind that every register is of 16-bit register. Only the general purpose registers, they provide accessibility for 8 bits. Okay, and this flag register is also 16-bit register. You can see that here. And this flag register will give the status of the result. Flag register will provide us the status of the result. What exactly that means, that we will know. Okay, and this flag register, it is containing totally 9 flags. Flag register contains totally 9 flags, and out of those 9 flags, 6 flags are called as conditional flags and 3 flags are called as control flags. I'm repeating once again. Flag register of 8086, it contains totally 9 flags, and out of 9 flags, 6 flags are called as conditional flags and the 3 flags are called as control flags. See here, here can you see the 3 red lines on the top of this particular register, 3 arrow marks.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, before I talk about these 3 arrow marks, let me brief what are those 9 flags. See here, what is the first one, CF. CF means carry flag. CF means carry flag. PF, parity flag. AF, auxiliary carry flag. Here it is a carry flag. Here it is auxiliary carry flag. There is a difference between carry and auxiliary carry that I'll explain you now. And next, ZF. ZF means zero flag. SF, CF, trap flag. IF, interrupt flag. DF, directional flag. OF, overflow flag. Quickly, carry flag, parity flag, auxiliary carry flag, zero flag, sign flag, trap flag, interrupt flag, directional flag, and overflow flag. So out of this 9, this trap flag, interrupt flag, and directional flag, these 3 are called as control flag. These 3 are called as control flag, and these 3 will not be in the user hands. Trap flag, directional flag, these 3 are going to control the execution of the program, and these 3 will control the execution flow of the processor also. I'm repeating once again. These 3, trap flag, interrupt flag, and directional flag, these 3 are called as controlling flags, and they are going to control the execution of the program. They will also control the execution flow of the processor also. Apart from these 3, the remaining 6 flags, they are called as conditional flags. They are called as conditional flags. That means apart from these 3, remaining 6, they will set and reset based on the result of any program. So now I will explain carry flag. Carry flag, that is nothing but carry flag will set when there is a carry that is being generated when you are performing one operation. I'll explain this so that you will be having one idea. See here, say for example, I'm trying to add 1 0 0 1 and again 1 0 0 0. So now I'm trying to add them. Now you tell me 1 plus 0, what will be the result? Guys, are you able to see the screen? Can you listen to me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And now I'm
Yes,
trying
ma'am.
to
Yes,
add
ma'am.
1001 and 1000. 1 0. When you add 1 and 0, what is the result?
1.
1. Next it is
1.
0 0. Next it will be
0.
0. And third you are adding 0 0. Result will be
0.
And now you are trying to add 1 1. What will be the result? When you add 1 1, the result will be 0 and there will be a carry called 1. Isn't it, ma? When you are trying to add 1 and 1, there will be a carry of 1 and the summation is going to be 0. Are you able to recollect them?
Yes, ma'am.
So here, the carry is generated or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
Generated.
yes. If your result is containing carry, then carry flag is going to set. That means CF value will become 1. If carry is not generated, then CF value will be 0. Did you understand now?
Yes, ma'am.
And now next is the parity flag. So if your result is containing even number of ones, if your result contains even number of ones, then PF will become 1. See here, if you this last one is the carry, the carry as the result. So if you take out the result, how many ones this particular result is having, ma? If you exclude carry, how many ones the result contains now? How many ones your result is having? Number of ones.
One.
Only one. That means it does not contain even number of ones. So when there is no even number of ones, then parity flag will be 0. Parity flag will value will be 1 only when there are even number of ones in this. Did you understand PF, ma?
Yes, ma'am.
And now next it is a auxiliary carry flag. The next value is auxiliary carry flag. See here. I'll take one more example so that you will have a clarity. Same example. Auxiliary carry flag will set when there is a generation of carry from one hexadecimal system to another hexadecimal system. See here. So now previously I added 4 bits. So now I'm adding 16. Ma, are you able to follow me?
Once again, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So now this part, this first 4 bits will be one hexadecimal number system and next another decimal. CF will be generated at the end of your complete operation. If carry is being generated, then carry flag will set. Auxiliary carry flag, when is it going to set? See here, ma. If there is a generation of carry from one hexadecimal number system to another hexadecimal number system, will perform the addition. See here, 1 plus 0 value will be 1, 0 plus 0, 0 only, 0 plus 0, 0 only. And here, when you are trying to add 1 plus 1, there is a generation of carry where that carry will be adding to the next system. That generated carry will move on to the next system. So in that scenario, as there is a transfer of carry from one hexadecimal number system to another hexadecimal number system, in that scenario, auxiliary carry flag will set. Guys, did you understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
And next, what is the next flag? ZF. So if your result is 0, then in that case, ZF will be 1. If your result is 0, let you perform any operation. Say for example, you have performed subtraction of 2 numbers, and if the subtraction value is 0, or you multiplied one number with 0, let you perform any program, let you perform any operation. If your result is representing 0, then in that scenario, ZF is going to be 0. Sorry, ZF is going to be 1. Am I clear, ma?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And next, sign flag. If MSB bit of your result is 1. If MSB bit of your result is 1, in that scenario, sign flag will set. What does that indicates? If MSB bit is 1, that indicates that your result is a negative value. If MSB bit of your result is 1, that indicates that your result is a negative value. So whenever the result is negative, then sign flag is going to set. Did you understand me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
MSB. Do you know what is MSB and LSB bits, right? This particular
Yes,
bit
ma'am.
we call it as LSB bit, and this we call it as MSB bit. After performing the let it be any kind of operation, addition or subtraction, if your MSB bit of your result is 1, then sign flag will set. And next, it is nothing but a trap flag. Seema, as I told you, the trap flag, interrupt flag and directional flag, these three are the controlling flags. So if trap flag is equals to 1, if TF is equals to 1, what does that indicates is whenever TF is 1, that indicates that you are executing your program step by step. That means you want to see the result for your program, not as an whole. You want to see your result of your program in step-by-step manner. So if you want to see your result in step-by-step manner, or if you are seeing your result in step-by-step manner, then automatically trap flag will internally set. Did you understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
And next, it is interrupt flag. While we are discussing one simple example in lab, there is one statement called INT 31H, interrupt 31H, that indicates that the termination of your program. So whenever there occurs such kind of instructions in your program, whenever you are writing any instruction which starts with INT means interrupt. Whenever there is any instruction that starts with INT, in that situations, this interrupt flag is going to set. And next, direction flag. Direction flag is equals to 1. That indicates that processor is reading your instructions from left to right. I'll give one example so that you can understand this directional flag. See here, ma. What I have written here, ma? Guys, what did I write here?
Yeah.
And you're
Divya.
reading it from left to right or right to left?
Left to right.
As you are human being, you know that you need to read it from left to right as you are habituated from the childhood. Then how does the processor knows that it has to read from left to right or right to left? Based on the value of this DF, that is nothing but directional flag. If DF value is equals to 1, then processor will read your instruction from left to right. If DF value is equals to 0, then it will read the instruction from left to right. Did you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
And next, the last one is nothing but overflow flag. Overflow. So to understand this, here you need to remember one thing. Say for example, if you are dealing with 8-bit data, if you are dealing with 8-bit data, then the processor will take the values in between minus 128 to plus 127. Remember this, if you are dealing with 8-bit data, 2 power 8, what will be the value of 2 power 8? You just forget it. If you are dealing with 8-bit data, processor can take the symbols or the values from minus 128 to plus 127. Minus 128 to plus 127. If you are giving a value which is not in between this value, that is nothing but minus 128 to plus 127. Say for example, you have given minus 150. You have given a value of minus 150. Does it fall in between minus 128 to plus 127? Guys, you people are trying to give a value of minus 150. Does value fall in between minus 128 to plus 127 or not?
No, ma'am.
So when it is not falling in this particular range, in that scenario, to intimate the processor that whatever the value that user has given, it is not in this particular range. To inform that information, this overflow flag will set. Whenever the value that you are dealing with is not within the range that you have specified, in that scenario, the overflow flag will. Are you clear, ma?
Yes, ma'am.
And even though it is of 16-bit register, we have only 9 flags, and the remaining flags which were indicated with cross mark, by the time when the 8086 is being developed, at that time they have used, out of 16 they have used only 9 flags, and the remaining flags they have not yet been defined, ma. So this cross mark in this particular register, that indicates that those flags are not being defined. Only 9 flags are being defined at the time of designing of 8086 microprocessor, ma. So cross mark indicates that undefined, and the remaining I have explained. I'll brief you.
in complete 1 minute, carry flag will set when there is a carry is generated in the complete result. PF will set. If there are even number of ones, then PF will set. Auxiliary carry flag. If carry is transferring from one hexadecimal system to another hexadecimal, then AF will be 1. ZF will be 1 if your result is 0. SF will be 1 if your result contains 1 as an MSB bit. Trap flag is equals to 1 means you are executing your program step by step. Interrupt in your program, if you are writing any instruction which is starting with INT, then IF will become 1. DF is equals to 1 indicates that processor is reading the strings from left to right. If it is 0, it will read the instruction from right to left. If you are providing any data which is not within the specific range that you have already defined, in that scenario, overflow flag is going to be set. Guys, are you clear with all the registers?
Yes, ma'am.
And now I'll be sharing link for today's test. Complete the test, ma. Just give me a second, I'll share you the link.